Good evening, South Africa and Zimbabwe, and also Southern Africa. We'd like to welcome you to a webinar here by Global Education. We've got one of our partners into here who's presenting St. Louis University. If you do recall, I think it was in March time, we had Ryan, who's the Associate Director of Marketing and Recruitment, who spoke with us, and it was one of my favorite webinars as well. So I'm looking forward to introducing Ryan again to you all. Just a bit of housekeeping. This webinar is recorded and will be shared to around the schools around the region. If you are looking for further information, please do reach out to us. My name is George. I'll have all my contact details at the end of this webinar, and you're welcome to reach out to us as well. And we'll be sharing this across all social media channels as well. So for everybody that's on the webinar, if you have any questions, put them in the chat box in the Q&A section, and we'll get to that at the end of the presentation. We'll have a short discussion as well at the end, which I know you're all looking forward to. So without further ado, Ryan, the floor is yours.
Great, yeah. George, thank you so much. Thank you to everybody joining. Very excited to present. I'll go ahead and share my screen and we will get started. George, if you can give me the thumbs up when you can see what I've got going here. All right, so as George mentioned, my name is Ryan. I serve in marketing and recruitment at St. Louis University. And you can see on the screen, we have two photos, two countries. We are very proud to be a global institution. We have our main campus here in the United States, but we also have a campus in Madrid, Spain. I'll talk about both of these opportunities in kind of the context of what is the SLU experience, what makes us so special, and why you should apply. So kind of diving in, high level overview of who we are, kind of what is the fit and feeling of St. Louis University. You know, when you're thinking about applying to an institution, you know, just alone in the United States, there are over 4,000 universities. We are just one option. You really need to think about your preferences, what you want to study. Do you want to be at a big school, a small school, big city, small city, all these factors. St. Louis University offers, in my opinion, a very well-balanced kind of portfolio. We are a medium-sized university with about 12,000 students, so not too big, not too small. We're in a larger US city, about 3 million people, so not too huge like New York or Los Angeles, but not a small college town. And we have very small class sizes. I think this is probably the #1 reason why international students choose to come to SLU. The personalized attention, the support from the moment you apply all the way to the moment that you're an alumni. People are here to support international students throughout the entire academic journey to make sure your questions are answered, you're supported on everything related to academics, student support, activities, getting involved. We are a private Catholic university. You don't need to be Catholic, but part of our Jesuit tradition is really developing men and women for others to really serve, leadership, developing these skills. These are kind of the intangible things that really sets a SLU experience apart. We are a very global institution. Again, 2 campuses, Europe and US. I'll focus first on the US. We have a really great population of international students from all over the world, and including the African continent. Couple kind of history things about SLU, which I think are really interesting. We were the very first university founded west of the Mississippi River. So if you know your geography, that kind of bifurcates the landmass of the United States. We were founded in 1818. We were also the very first federally certified aviation school in the United States. So a very long history in aviation, aerospace engineering, which really kind of helped buttress the academic area of engineering and technology that we have at St. Louis University. And we were the very first American university to open a full campus in Europe. We're not a study abroad site, rather it is a full university campus. So some really cool kind of history points. To really illuminate beyond just the profile of our institution, but really the academic rigor, how elite our institution is. So you can see here some of our key rankings. We are ranked in the top 5% of all American universities. This year we're ranked 103. But really important is our best value ranking. So in the United States, I mentioned there are 4,000 schools and we are ranked number 56 for best value. You know, if you're a student that's really thinking about scholarships, how am I going to afford to study in the United States, really looking at something like best value is something that you need to consider. This is really balancing the investment that you and your families are making in your education against scholarship opportunities and, more importantly, outcomes. Our students are really getting great jobs. They're getting employed. They're being recruited from companies locally, nationally, and globally. So I think that's really important, that return on investment. We hold the highest level of accreditations in some very key fields: ABET for engineering, AACSB for business, and ABA for law school. We have a lot of individual program rankings. I'm not going to go through all of these, but really quick highlights. We're very, very strong and premier institution for business, engineering, health and human services, as well as law. I'll dive in a little bit into these now. Business, I would say, is probably one of our most popular degree areas at the undergrad and grad level. If you're familiar with STEM, science, technology, engineering, math, typically these programs would be in engineering, computer science, maybe in health sciences. At St. Louis University, we actually have 4 degree programs that qualify for STEM OPT extension. So this really can give you some additional benefits for gaining work experience after you graduate. You can stay longer in the United States to work. Our undergrad program in business technology and 3 of our grad programs in finance, MBA, and supply chain management are all STEM. And if you are a student currently at a university and maybe thinking about doing your graduate work in the US, SLU is a premier option because the vast majority of our graduate programs do not require GRE or GMAT. And at the undergrad level, we're SAT, ACT test optional. So that's a really big hurdle that you can kind of not need to worry about applying to SLU, because we're really going to be focused on reviewing your academic rigor and your grades. So whatever kind of system and scale you're coming from, as well as your language abilities. That's what we're really going to focus on to ensure that you're well suited for our programs and will be set up for success. To really highlight how elite our business school is, I pulled out a few of our programs and the key rankings that we hold and some of our competitors. So you can see SLU Business is among the most elite business schools in the United States. We are kind of in a competitor set with schools like University of Chicago, New York University, Cornell, Berkeley, University of Southern California. So attending business school at SLU is amongst the most premier. So you're really looking at excellent academics, excellent research, and even more importantly, really high outcomes. Moving over to our engineering school, I had mentioned we're very well known for aerospace engineering. So those are kind of unique, very particular fields. Because we do have a very strong school of medicine, that collaboration and kind of interdisciplinary work that that school does with engineering, we have a very strong biomedical engineering program. You can see some of our other programs like civil, mechanical, and electrical. Again, GRE is not required for these grad programs. Lots of hands-on activities and learning opportunities in the engineering school. And lastly, another big area would be health and human services. We are a premier destination in the US for students considering medical school. Now, medical school in the United States for international students is very challenging because many school of medicines will not even accept international students. Why are we a premier school? Because our medical school can accept international students because we are private. Because of that, we see a lot of interest in our pre-med program. About 30% of our undergrad programs are really well suited for students to go into pre-med. So if you're thinking of anything in health sciences, medical, public health, SLU is really a great option for you to consider. That coupled with the fact that we're really famous for our work that we do in community service, working with people and communities and populations, really makes for a comprehensive experience within this kind of discipline set. And lastly, STEM. I think a lot of students are really interested in STEM because of high job growth in many of these fields, as well as the ability to stay on the student visa for 3 years in the US if you're in a STEM program. So we have over 40 different STEM qualifying undergrad and grad degree programs. So that's really, really important for international students. Again, small class sizes, but we have really advanced technological spaces, laboratories for you to kind of have hands-on learning experience from day one. Undergrad students are allowed to get involved in research as well as our grad and PhD students. If you're thinking aviation, we actually own 15 airplanes, but they never let me use it, but one day I'm hoping I can borrow one. I've got a couple QR codes in these slides. If you're interested in any of these kind of really cool things, just scan it and you can watch a video later offline. Lots of innovation happening here at SLU, collaborative spaces, interdisciplinary work. For example, this building you see here is our science and engineering building that we just built, where a lot of the science laboratories from engineering, biosciences, computer sciences are all kind of collaborating on lots of new technologies and workspaces. We have a brand new esports lab, which is really cool. If you're interested in gaming, and being competitive on that. As well, we do have an elite research center for vaccine research. So, everything going on with COVID, this is kind of really cool and very topical, very interesting. I encourage you to watch this video if you like anything in research and health sciences. St. Louis University was involved in the trials for the Moderna vaccine because we were one of only 10 elite vaccine research centers in the entire United States. So talking about location really quickly, where are we? St. Louis is a really great student-friendly city, 3 million people, not too big, not too small. Cost of living is a big factor. A lot of students from the continent, they know maybe Miami, New York, Los Angeles, but those are very expensive places to live. Here you can have a comprehensive kind of urban environment, but very livable. You can afford to live here. You can afford to go out. It's very diverse population. Cultural and kind of, food opportunities here as well. I always like to highlight CPT, OPT, work opportunities. Being in a big city, we do have key industries in biotechnology, healthcare, logistics, banking, finance. And last year we were ranked the #1 best city to launch a career. So this is really important when you're thinking about that investment in your education, the outcomes. The destination also is really important. Can I find a job there? Can I get an internship? You'll be able to find that here. We have lots of really large companies, global headquartered here in St. Louis. We actually have 14 of the Fortune companies that are based in St. Louis across many different industries. Everything from aerospace engineering to pet food manufacturing at Purina, DuPont, Pfizer, MasterCard all have offices or are headquartered here. So lots of great opportunities. And our international students are getting jobs. We have a student here, Fernando, who's from Spain, who now works at NASA. He did aerospace engineering here. And Ting, who's from Hong Kong, flies the 747 for Cathay Pacific, and many other alumni. So you'll be joining a very elite group of people and professionals who you have access to help you find jobs all over the world, who, because they've studied at SLU, really extend their network. Lastly, just to kind of round out the on-campus experience, urban campus, but it feels like a college town campus in the middle of a city. There's really no car traffic. It's very green, very historic, very walkable. We're about a 5-minute walk to the local subway, so you can get around quite easily. We do require all of our undergrad students to live on campus the first 2 years, and graduate students can live on or off. And if you are an athlete, we have really great Division I sports. We're very famous for basketball and men's football or soccer. What are we looking for in applicants? At the undergrad level, I won't go through all the scores here, but we have really flexible admissions. We're really looking at your academic background, that rigor from your high school. We are SAT, ACT test optional, and we can accept TOEFL, IELTS, Duolingo, or you can apply without a test score and we'll give you a placement test. We're really looking for a bare minimum GPA of 2.5 or higher. When you apply, students from the continent are automatically considered for a minimum scholarship of $15,000 per year. So if you are successfully admitted, you would receive $15,000, and that can go up to $25,000 per year based on higher marks, or if you have a high SAT or ACT, which is not required, but it could increase the scholarship. So $15,000 to $25,000, and our tuition is about $48,000 per year. Kind of switching gears here now, I want to briefly go over a couple things on our Madrid campus and why students consider studying at Madrid or even studying abroad. So obviously much similar time zone to Africa and South Africa. It's a little bit closer, I would say, to home, maybe culturally, distance-wise. Everything on our Madrid campus is taught in English. So you don't need to know Spanish unless if you enroll in a Spanish class. But we would hope that you would learn a little Spanish so that you can have a really fulfilling experience living in Madrid. It's a great opportunity to kind of learn another language if you want. But obviously Madrid's a capital city, very well connected both to the African continent as well as Europe. So you have a lot of opportunities to do some really cool things on the weekend, explore Spain, go to Portugal, Italy, France, and it's all very, very close. So that's, I think, a fun thing. SLU Madrid is an American university that's accredited in the United States, and basically it's accredited to operate in Spain. So if you earn a degree from SLU Madrid, it's an American degree, not a Spanish degree. It has been operating for over 50 years, so it's the first of its kind in the US for American university. Small class sizes, all the faculty are SLU faculty. Many come from the main campus, but some are permanent to the campus there. Same accreditation, same rankings. We have a small campus, but it's very urban. It's very central to the city. So it's not out in the suburbs, but it's not right in the heart of Madrid. So it's really an American campus experience, but in Spain. So if you want to go to a Spanish university, that's not SLU Madrid. SLU Madrid is really an American university in Spain. We do offer 15 undergraduate degree programs fully offered in Spain. That means you could apply, study, and graduate completely in Spain and never come to the US. Or the other option is, for many of our other programs, you can start in Spain, finish in the US, or you can start in the US and do a semester or two abroad. So a lot of kind of combinations to really have that experience. We do see a lot of our students who come to the main campus studying things like international business, which we're top 24 in the United States. They'll come here and then maybe do a semester or two in Madrid to really get that European, kind of a different continent experience within international business. So some really interesting opportunities to combine a US and a European experience. I think one of the really great kind of selling points for SLU Madrid is the tuition is about half the cost. So SLU Madrid is about 21,000 euro per year, which is about 24,000 US, which is about 50% of the tuition. It's a much smaller operation, so they're able to kind of have a cost reduction because they don't house all the same laboratories and expertise that we have here in our main campus. But likewise, we have really great scholarship opportunities. So when you apply to SLU Madrid, you're automatically considered for scholarships up to 9,000 euro per year, which again can be almost about half of tuition. So that's some great ways to kind of get a US education, maybe save a little bit of money, or combine two campuses. That combinability, I think, is just really a phenomenal experience. And if you want to learn Spanish, you can, but you can do all your classes in English. We don't have on-campus housing, but we do have a coordinator who can help students with, a residence off campus or host family, which is really the best way to learn Spanish with the Spanish family. So that's one of the things that many of our students comment on being one of the best experiences that they've had while at SLU Madrid, is living with the host family. And I will leave you all with this. If you're ever interested in checking out our campus here in the United States, we have a really wonderful virtual tour, which is a little bit more dynamic, 360 tours, students walking you through each tour stop. It's uvisit.com/SLU. I encourage you to check that out. And George, here's my QR code if you guys ever want to set up a call directly with me and a student. I'm happy to do that. And I think we have a few minutes left to leave it open for Q&A if that works. And George, I don't know if you had any questions or things that maybe you learned that were new.
Yeah, no, definitely. Ryan, thank you very much. I think it's always great to see SLU and see the history side of it, because I think a lot of people, when they're Googling and they're seeing all these different universities, they kind of get the big brands coming and seeing there and don't see some of the smaller universities, not that SLU is smaller, but seeing what it actually does, and from aviation even to the pre-med. And I've got a current student that I'm talking to that's asked me a question to ask you. She's hasn't done too well in her exams. She's not a bad student, but just some stresses and things like that have happened, but is keen on studying medicine. How could she do that doing pre-med at SLU? Like, and is that even an option to consider?
Yeah, pre-med and medical track is, I would say, very competitive. So, we always like to be very realistic with students who are considering going down that path. That's not to say that they shouldn't attempt it, but it does require a very rigorous academic background, but also kind of some of the non-academic components, community service activities, because to be competitive to get into a medical school, you need to really be bringing kind of those attributes. I always encourage students, set up a call. We'll kind of pre-review, kind of walk the student through it. If pre-med and medical maybe isn't the most realistic option, that's okay. There's still that inspiration to kind of be in health and human services. There's so many other areas that I think students can open their minds to, because so often we hear, I want to be a lawyer, an engineer, a doctor. Well, there's so many other very related disciplines that kind of orbit around those bigger bucket areas. Have you thought about public health? Have you thought about neuroscience, biomedical engineering? So there's a lot of ways to kind of help shape a student's plans for the future that may not be that exact thing, but something that's really similar, that's probably maybe more achievable, is what I would say.
Yeah, and I'm definitely going to get you set up with that one-to-one call there. I just think that's the best answer I've heard from a few. So thank you very much, Ryan.
Yeah.
A couple questions from me though. What's the student support like at SLU? Is it quite generic, jump onto a call and speak to a counselor, or is there like a service building that students can walk into and meet somebody? And could you just go a bit into those student services?
Yeah, I mean, student services it's a really broad term. I would say we have a lot of areas that work with students, everything from academic, from tutoring, but also international student support. So what I look at when working with international students specifically is the kind of catered support that a student has at SLU from the moment that they inquire to the moment that they graduate. There's international specific level support in addition to all the other services that our institution provides. So that is, I really need help kind of deciding, is SLU the right place for me? Do you have the programs? Tell me more about this. That's my job. I can sit and work with the student individually. Then we work with students as they're committing to SLU for pre-departure, what to pack, how to prepare, immigration, arrival, orientation. We pick students up at the airport. I think this goes back to that kind of combination of what I mentioned earlier of a sense of community, but also being medium-sized, larger university. We have lots of resources, but on a much more customized basis. And that's one of the benefits of being in a private school. We're able to really focus on each individual student and not throw you in to a class of 300 students. I think our largest class can maybe fit 40, and that would probably be in our business school. When the students hear everything from social, cultural, academic support. So, if you need help with tutoring or preparing for a presentation, or you're struggling with grammar, or maybe you're having issues with a roommate, there are different departments and areas that will help students really make sure that they're having a fulfilling experience. So I think that kind of one-on-one is something that we're special with. Now, I always tell students, we have all these support mechanisms, but you need to, number one, ask, right? We can't read your mind. We can usually tell if a student's struggling, but it's incumbent on a student to really take that responsibility for their future and for their experience, and to always ask questions. And number two is to know that we're here to support, but we won't do everything for a student. And this is really part of that Jesuit education model. We won't do everything for you, but we will be there to give you the tools to do for yourself and develop leadership skills. Be successful as a student, that you're successful when you go on, to working, to having a career, to being a leader. So I think that's kind of the good and the tough. It's kind of the tough love, but that's what we're really famous for.
Yeah, no, I love that. And I think it's such a great model for students to not only learn from, but really adopt into their own lives. It doesn't matter where you study, it's what you do with it that really counts. And I think the ability to network even you mentioned the OPT in St. Louis, you've got these incredible businesses that are there, the chance to be in a big city and have that small experience, that small support, and really nurture your skills is really valuable for somebody like myself, who looks back and thinks, I should have done more in my student services support structure. Ryan, what's one place you recommend for students to check out when they arrive at St. Louis?
Oh, the park. You think a park, it's just a park, but Forest Park actually is right in front of my house. And it's really close to campus. It's to me, a special place because in 1904, St. Louis hosted the Summer Olympics, and it was the first US city to host. And there was a World's Fair. And so everything in the park comes from that time period. But what's special about it and unique to St. Louis is everything in the park is completely free, because that was part of kind of making this park for all. The museum that's over there is free. The St. Louis Zoo, completely free. Lots of outdoor recreation that's free. We have 2 public golf courses. So it's a really wonderful, huge green space in the middle of the city. It's about 50% larger than Central Park. So to me, I think that's one of the best assets, because there are festivals and events all throughout the year right by campus. So you're in the city, but you can get into this huge green space and really do things. I run and ride my bike over there. In September, the St. Louis Symphony had a big outdoor symphony, and they had like fireworks. So there's just lots of really cool things to do. I think that's something, more broadly speaking, about St. Louis that's great for a student. You don't have to spend a lot of money to live here. There's a lot of free things to do. I don't like spending my money on things. So I really enjoy living here, because it's like, oh, I can go to museums and festivals and see the second oldest symphony in the US play for free, outdoor concert. So I think that's probably one of the coolest things. And we do a lot of events off campus. So our international students get to meet the American students, and they kind of connect together through these kind of off-campus experiences, which is so fulfilling. Students want to work hard, they want to study, they want to get good jobs, but they want to have a great study abroad experience. You can do that here.
No, brilliant. Ryan, again, thank you very much. I think now that we've got everybody's attention, the question I wanted to ask you, more importantly, are there any tips for students when they're applying for any of the scholarships that you should recommend or advise them to be aware of? Any tips that will help them with the application process?
Yeah, well, the number one tip is do everything early, because as an international student, you have the, let's say, additional step of dealing with visas and I-20s. We want to make sure our students are prepared to arrive and feel comfortable so that they can focus on orientation and starting school. So number one, apply early. And to apply early, you need to know where you want to go. So ask questions, contact George, contact myself. If SLU is in the orbit of a place that you want to be, let's talk to make sure it's the right fit for you. It may not be the right fit for every student. That's okay. We want to find the students who this is the experience they're looking for. And then number three, preparing. If you are applying for next year, making sure that your application, continue working on your grades. If you're still in high school or in college, making sure that you're really working on that academic background. That can definitely help with the undergrad scholarships. Graduate, I would say applying early, because sometimes those funding opportunities are kind of first come, first serve. But I would say above all, ask a lot of questions. Utilize the resources of people like myself. My number one job and my only important thing that I need to do every day is make sure that I'm connecting with students who want to be at SLU to make sure that they know the experience and that's the right fit for them. Because we don't want you to be happy. We don't want a student to come to our school and be like, oh, this wasn't exactly what I thought. We want to avoid that, right? And that's kind of, I would say that's my tips.
Ryan, as always, thank you very much. It's a pleasure to talk to you and to have your expertise out being shared across our region. We really do appreciate that. I'm going to put my contact details on the screen for everybody as well, just so that for the recording, we've got it all done. To all the students that joined us again, thank you very much. I know that we had a big load shedding in Johannesburg. A couple of people dropped off there, but don't worry, we will get Ryan's recording to you all. And as always, we'll share that booking detail that he shared as well, so you can book a one-on-one with him. And as always, Global's here to help you from start to end. We'll make sure that you get there in the right fashion and the right time and safely as well. So please do reach out. Ryan, I'll let you close it out. Thank you very much. And I look forward to having another conversation, hopefully in person in South Africa would be great.
Yeah, that would be great. I'm ready to come down, and we are certainly welcome or ready to welcome your students. So George, thank you. Students, thank you. I look forward to hearing from you. And if SLU seems to be a great fit, let's make it happen.
Keep safe, everybody. Good night.
All right. Bye-bye. Take care, George.